Hi, everybody. Carl Bauer here. Some time ago, Scott McVicker approached me with an idea for a new show for SECV8. We started with the premise that in our area, there are many former sports stars who have gotten on with their lives after their sports careers ended. These are people who had stories written about them in the newspapers, people who enjoyed playing sports, and who were decorated in the sports they loved. What did they do after the spotlight no longer shone on them? Where are they now? What are they doing? Out of these discussions grew the show, Catching Up with Carl. In this inaugural episode, we'll be sitting down with Mount Carmel wrestling great Mike Garcia, and we'll also have Selinsgrove field hockey, exceptional field hockey player, Kelli Smith. She goes by Kelli Smith Puzo now. I know you're going to enjoy these. Mike, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. And I like the title to the show. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, I'm not sure who came up with it, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
You had a tremendous high school career at Mount Carmel. Your wrestling career is something that I'm sure Mount Carmel people talk about to this day. PIAA results alone are just incredible. As a freshman, you finished fifth. That was in 1991, 119 pounds. That was a few pounds ago.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah. Yeah.
Your record for that year, freshman year, 33-8. Quite a record for a freshman.
Yeah, not too bad.
However, you lost 2-1 in that state championship, and then you came back and had that same wrestler for the fifth place match, and you pinned him. I'm sure. For me, that says something about you.
Yeah, I think I forget the boy's name. I think Eric Schur. Maybe that's the name.
That sounds right.
Yeah, ain't that something? I come up with that name. But I started late wrestling. I only started in seventh grade, and when I got there as a freshman, I think Eric, that kid was ranked highly in the state, so I was a little intimidated, and I wrestled like a freshman in the first match, and lost a 2-1, which I probably shouldn't have, but because I didn't feel I was good enough at the time, he got the best of me. And as the tournament went on, I thought, hey, I belong with these guys, and we ended up wrestling in the wrestlebacks for fifth and sixth, and this time I just went out and was myself, and was able to get the fall.
Well, it said something about your displeasure, I guess, at being that low on the podium, because the next year, your sophomore year, you were state champion, 33-0, 130 pounds now instead of 119 pounds. And that final was a real nail biter. You finished that bout 7-6, a winner and a state champion. What were your feelings at that time?
Well, here's the thing is, so when I started late, I also wrestled a lot of other styles of wrestling. I was into freestyle and Greco-Roman, which I had a couple young guys that were taking me all over for practice. I credit going up to Benton High School a lot, wrestling with the Hughes brothers and the Gilbert boy and Tommy Yurko, which unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And by going up there, I got a lot of confidence. And I wrestled in a lot of national events now under my belt, which, built confidence because you're wrestling the best of the best, you think, at the time. And so coming back my sophomore year, excuse me, I felt real confident coming into my sophomore year. My training ethics were, I think, second to none at the time. And, confidence goes a long way in wrestling. It's huge, I believe. And that year I had a pretty successful year, and I got to credit a lot of that to the effort that I put outside of the season for that year. And was fortunate to get a state title that year. A little close, but yeah, pulled it out.
Well, you mentioned the Hughes boys, Tom Yurko, all state champions. When you're going against that kind of competition in practice,
Sure.
you just have to get better.
Yeah, and it was great. So early in the 90s, when I was wrestling, our area had a lot of great wrestling athletes. Not only just wrestlers, they played some other sports as well. soccer, some football here and there. But there was a great amount of great guys in our area. And to get in the rooms, there'll only be like 20 of us at the practice session, sometimes 10. But you were talking sometimes, 5 of those 10 guys were state titleists or national, place finishers at freestyle and Greco, which was huge just starting to get huge at that time. And, how else if you didn't go to those practices, you weren't trying to achieve to be better. Those practices just made you better every day. The constant, boy, they were nasty. Some days they were just pure nasty,
Sure.
you have some, we all thought we were good at the time. And with that kind of competition in the room, I can't say that there wasn't a lot of just brutal, just nasty, almost fights. And what happens with that is, the matches in high school became easier because, the kids that you weren't wrestling weren't as good, or sometimes weren't as brutally attacking, so that definitely helped.
Well, in 1993, your junior year, you were now up to 140 pounds. Your season record, 34-1, and you met another state champion in the final at states, a kid from Fort LaBeouf. You beat him 6-5, another close one, but another state title for Mike Garcia.
Yeah. Well, actually, my junior year, I think you got an error there, Carl. It would have been Brett Werkheiser.
Okay.
Another state champ. He was from Wilson.
Okay.
So I don't know I'm not trying to correct you, but I just remember. He was the returning state champ at the time for the weight class above me. So my sophomore year, I won at 130. I believe Brett Werkheiser won at 140. And then we met my junior year in the finals. We also met in the district finals and regional finals as well. And he was a great athlete at the time, I remember. And the other thing I remember about Brett is, and I think today I'm just bragging about him too as well, is he's a doctor as well. Because I heard he in high school, it was interesting to know that he had like a 1600 on his SATs. So you weren't only wrestling another good guy, you were wrestling, just a good person in general.
And somebody who could figure you out with that kind of practice.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going with that. You had to beat a guy who was, equal athletically, but also maybe superior mentally, because I didn't have a 1600 on my SATs. So I can't.
Nor did I, believe me.
Yeah, but no, he was a pretty good guy, and I know he went on to become pretty successful himself. But that was a barn burner match, and people watched the match, and I watched the match, and I always couldn't understand why Brett was keeping it close with me. I thought I was a step ahead of him all the time, but after the fact, when I realized that it was too late, is he was lefty. And it does change things up when you're wrestling a guy, equal to you, and, he reacts the same as you. He does things the same as you. Brett, I couldn't figure out why he always reacted differently. Like, on a shot, he was able to ghost leg quicker or back out or react different. But after the fact, which I guess, now you have film so easily. Remember when I was wrestling, my dad was standing up with a VCR camcorder on his shoulder that was as big as the boom box we used to walk with down the streets. You remember carrying the boom boxes to listen to them? The heck, I think now the batteries for the boom boxes are bigger than our phones. You know what I mean? So it was harder to tape people at the time and go back and look at video. So later on in the fact, if we had the technology we had today where you could just videotape people's matches, I might have learned earlier that that's the reason he was a little different to wrestle, and maybe I would have been able to practice the difference because I knew I was going to hit him a couple of times. Well, and an interesting story to that, I don't know if you want me to just ramble or not, but an interesting story to that is only reason I went up to wrestle him, I don't know if you want to know this, but I was down a weight class and Brett was up 2 weight classes from me, and he was ranked first. I was ranked first. And I actually jumped up a couple times to wrestle some returning runner-ups and place finishers during the dual meet season. I jumped up pretty high. And when I jumped up pretty high, a ranking came out that ranked me behind him. And long story short, I actually didn't wrestle the weight class I was weighing at. I actually jumped up to wrestle him to, I don't know, I guess to prove something to myself.
Sure.
Which just that, hey, look, I think this guy isn't better. But so I jumped up. It could have been a mistake. He could have beat me. But, fortunately for me, it worked out in the end.
Now we move up to your senior year. Again, a state championship. That's 3 state championships.
Yep.
You're undefeated again at 34-0 at 145 pounds now. You
Yep.
had an injury to your knee. How did that affect you when you moved against really good wrestlers?
It was horrible, to be honest with you. So again, I challenged off a wrestler that was from our local community. I'm going to give him a plug too. Scotty Kurtz, I think, was one of the best wrestlers out of our area from Shamokin. I think he got also outstanding wrestler his junior or senior year too. And another guy that I didn't mention when we were in the practice rooms was Scotty. Scotty was actually a really good friend of mine, but as we, didn't practice together, we were more of acquaintances. We were more of acquaintances than friends at the time. So I challenged, basically not challenged him, but because the articles were written, hey, Scott could beat Mike, Mike could beat Scott, and that rival Shamokin Mount Carmel that, burns in everybody's soul. It seems. I went to the weight class to challenge him at Schuylkill Leagues, which was a huge tournament back in the 90s, Schuylkill League tournament. I mean, multiple place finishers and state champs came through there years ago, and wrestled him off. And in the middle of the match, I tore my knee. And it was kind of just a freak thing. It was just the way I stepped up off of something, nothing out of the ordinary, like not a hit or a blow or a twist. And I tore my knee that match. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to continue with wrestling that year. And now basically practice became null and void because now practice became just getting my knee better to participate. Which was extremely tough. And it was a torn ligament on the inside of my knee, which my moves were off of my feet were high crotch, left and right. I could go equally as good both ways. So that affected my shot. So when a guy would react, it affected my shot that, if I took a right side high crotch, he would back up, then I would just return with the left side. So that took away that motion that I could do to take the guys down. So actually went into a front headlock series. That way I didn't have to shoot as much, and struggled just not to shoot and try and beat guys based on them attacking me, which is sometimes hard to do, to get guys to attack you. But it was very, very strugglesome and difficult to continue with that season. But somehow, fortunately I was able to get it done.
Well, it worked very well for you. You had an undefeated season. And then out of high school, you had some real opportunities with colleges. Tell us about that experience.
So, I mean, it was fortunate. You win a state title in Pennsylvania, and it's a great state for wrestling. You get a lot of opportunities and offers. My offers came from everybody all over the country. You name the schools, all the big time wrestling schools. But I chose to go to Bucknell because I was dating a girl, and my wife's on the other side of this Zoom call, Carl. So you're killing me. So I'm either going to make her mad or happy by what I'm saying. But anyway, so I was dating a girl for a while, and their family really treated me well. And their names were the Ferraros, and he happened to be the coach at Bucknell. And for more reasons than just wrestling, I chose to go to Bucknell, basically because, I had a second family. I thought they treated me great. And I really got along with the son who wrestled there as well, Bobby, who was a state champ from Lewisburg years ago, who real well. And
Twice, yeah.
Yeah, and Bobby, and everybody likes Bobby, so I had a good relationship there. And, at the time, I didn't think I needed a program to win a national title. I just needed a place I could call home, and that was why I chose to go there. Not for the university itself, not really for the wrestling program itself, more so because it was a family atmosphere that I had a support, extra support right there from Bob, who was a really good guy who I think knows the National High School Coaches Association that runs all the wrestling tournaments and the national tournament. Yeah.
Well, they both the Ferraros did very well in the national scene.
Yep.
The coach, the father, and also Bobby, they are known throughout the country for their wrestling ability and their coaching ability.
Yeah.
So you got out of college and then you moved your family to Southern Columbia. Everybody wants to know, why did you move to Southern when Mount Carmel had such a great athletic reputation?
Well, fortunately, I met and married the girl of my dreams. See, I'm making some points here. That she's sitting right behind me, and it's true. She is the girl of my dreams. She lived in Shamokin, and we married, and we lived in a house in Shamokin. Again, she had a great family background. Her mom, her stepfather, the Rickert family, Nan and Pop. Her Nan and Pop pretty much raised her. So we lived in a house right next to them, which was great because when we were raising the boys, her Nana and Pop are like, it's amazing. And I'm not saying elderly people or that generation. It's amazing how that generation of people reach out to help you like crazily. You know what I mean? So like our Nana just basically helped us with every aspect of the boys. Unfortunately, they passed away. And to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to put any digs at Shamokin athletics really hurt us a lot. The boys came up kind of being pretty successful in the midget program and the wrestling program at Shamokin. And never did I think, I'm having boys and all of a sudden, like both of them want to wrestle. And then the next one wants to wrestle at 4 all together. And then we go and play football and, they're scoring in the midget programs. And, the community, and I should say the community as a whole, a few people as a group really treated us unfairly, I should say. You know what I mean? Kind of was, for lack of a better word, just a jealousy type thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the Shamokin that my wife felt home for years and the Shamokin that I grew up respecting, like that was hard-nosed kids, Scotty Kurtz, Kirk Stamen, these guys, that I thought, hey, when you play Shamokin, they really want to take it to you.
Right.
I felt there was a group that just really didn't like us. I mean, and they did it. And I shouldn't say didn't like us. They just didn't like us. So Southern, I like to be out in the country. I like to hunt. My boys were all the same way. We talked about going to Mount Carmel, but there was some issues there with the wrestling program a few years ago with a Lepotsky guy who kind of turned me off from going back to Shamokin or going back to Mount Carmel. And so, Southern was the only place that, we didn't really know anybody. We had some acquaintances. I really got along with Greg Halliday at the time, which Greg, he's a good guy. And we looked for homes over in this area. And fortunately, I think we found, like a dream home that we didn't think we could get into. And it went our way. And along the ways, I thought of Coach Roth as a great football coach. I thought, hey, Jerry Marks and Kent Lane, they're the wrestling coaches. I mean, come on, the state titles together. Sure. Their kids were successful. If I couldn't help coach, like who doesn't want Coach Roth coaching their kid football,
right?
Or Kent Lane and Jerry Marks coaching their kids in wrestling. And, so we made the venture over here, and with the idea that we were always a wrestling kind of family, because the kids were having success in wrestling early and wanted to play football. And I played football a little bit in high school too, but, I steered my way to wrestling, which ended up to be, maybe the right choice.
Oh, definitely the right choice.
Yeah. But so we steered over here. Kenda Roth, we used to see her over at our wrestling club. I don't know if you remember Mike Cease from Shikellamy.
Sure.
Yeah, Mike Cease had a wrestling club that I helped him do over there in Danville, and Mike Cease is one of the greatest guys I've ever been around in my life. Great person. Kendra Roth did the TNT cheerleading over there. So they kind of started together with doing that, wrestling and cheerleading, and see Kendra Roth over there and the enthusiasm she had for the kids that were there, my kids, as well. It made it seem like the right choice to try and get in this community. And to be honest with you, it's the best decision we ever made. I think it's second to none the school district. I think it's second to none the athletics over here. And as a community as a whole, and the support they have for people and the kids, I think is just fantastic.
It really is. I mean, you always see a big crowd at Southern Columbia for any athletic event. Let me shift the attention a little bit now to four boys.
Yep, four boys.
You're wearing a Michigan shirt, a Michigan hat, Gage.
Yeah. I figured I'd put the apparel on. You can see that. Yeah. You can see I lost a little bit. You can see I gained a little bit of weight from that 119, but down a little bit from how fat I was last year. So,
how is Gage doing?
Gage is doing very, very well at practice. Doing good in his drills. The unfortunate thing about it is Gage can't participate in the football. He can practice. He can do everything. Wrestling is paying for year one, and football is picking up the next couple of years. But we got caught in an NCAA rule that says if the sport that you're playing first needs to pay, it's kind of defeats anybody doing a fraudulent offer. Sure. What I mean? I can't give you a water polo scholarship so you could play football. So, and that was never the intention, because obviously Gage has a great wrestling background, which the wrestling team was offering him prior to the football anyway. And it was a joint venture between the both of them, which we thought and everybody thought was going to be this great concept and idea. And it still is. Nobody realized what the NCAA rule was. But I will tell you, he sends me some films of practice and stuff, and he looks to me like he's running like he is on a Friday night. And, I'm so proud of him. He's I think he has a 4.0 right now. I think he had a 3.9 the semester before. He seems to be doing well. But going back to the community aspect, he loves home. He's a little homesick, I think. But here's the thing is when you come from a great community like Southern, our area, Mount Carmel, Shamokin, it is hard to leave this area and not want to come back. So, but he's doing really, really great right now. And to give him a little bit of attaboy, he just did 225 34 times on Saturday. So even at the NFL Combine, they don't do it that much, the running backs. I think the record was 29. So that's pretty neat. So
yeah, that is good. What about Gavin? He's by the paper. I'm reading about him all the time in the newspaper. He's having a tremendous year. He's only a junior.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and equally say as good things about Gavin as I do Gage, because if I say one more about the other than the other, they always get a little bit itchy at each other. But Gavin is just a different type of running back to me. His success, I think he's still almost around 20 yards a carry, which is I remember growing up reading guys, 10 yards a carry, 9 yards a carry for your high school career was like insane. So I don't know what to say about his yards per carry. I guess it's just ludicrous. But he's just doing fantastic. He surprises me every time he gets the ball. I'm trying to be humble about him, but I think he can score every time he touches.
I think if he could too.
Yeah, if he gets a punt or if he gets a kick or if he just gets a handoff, and I don't care if he's getting hit 3 times in the backfield before he cuts across the grain, which I don't know how he does it so much, but he does. But
last game he returned an interception for a touchdown.
Yeah. That's I guess now there's he scored almost every which way you can in high school now, I guess. But and I think he was only in a play or two when he did that. But yeah, it's so exciting and it's so I got to pinch myself sometimes because, what Gage did in his high school career, Gavin's following, at his footsteps right now. I don't think he could catch his big brother on some stats, but, he has some stats of his own that I don't think anybody else is putting up either.
And now you have another one, a younger one, a freshman, Garrett. Yeah. He's big. He's taller than the other two.
Yeah.
And he weighs 170 pounds as a freshman, starting as a middle linebacker for Southern.
Yeah. Well, last night he weighed like 179, so he's getting a little bit bigger. But it's funny because he's tall and skinny. But we always tease Garrett coming up through because Gage seemed to be doing his thing, Gavin seemed to be doing his thing, and Garrett was the little brother that tug along at the wrestling tournaments. We go to a wrestling tournament and we'd be wrestling national events, and Gage and Gavin could keep up with that competition. And Garrett's so many years younger than him, we just throw Garrett in to wrestle these guys. And it kind of felt unfair for a while. Like, hey, Garrett's wrestled a kid 3 years older than him, 4 years older than him. He's a national champ or state champ of this, whatever area. And poor Garrett, we throw him out to the dogs. And we'd always tease him that, hey, look, you're not quite as good as your brothers, we would say to him. But, here's the thing is, long story short, Garrett is a freshman on Southern's returning state championship team, and he's the leading tackler as a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
And all the teasing aside, Gage and Gavin, I knew had the athleticism. I felt that they were going to be good. Garrett is exceeding anything that we thought he would do right now. He's it's really like is a different, like, I felt like Gage and Gavin could be doing what they were doing. Now Garrett's doing things that I think we didn't expect. And it's, I can't say I'm prouder than him of the other boys, but do you understand what I'm saying? It's
sure.
Like I'm so happy for him that he is becoming his own identity. He's not just Gage and Gavin's brother. Now he's Garrett. You know what I mean? So now he's making his own identity, and boy, he's playing a really, really, really heck of a good ball right now, I think.
So you have a fourth son.
Yep.
What's his name?
That's Grady Garcia. Yep. He's the pipsqueak of the family. So, and he also plays football. So, and yesterday they won
not a surprise.
Yep. And he's also a running back. So he's at wing back for his he's been a kind of a wing running back since he started. We always joke that he might be the fastest and the quickest at that age, and it possibly is true that he is. But he's tinier. He's a lot smaller than the other guys, and actually his team just won. This broadcast is Monday, and Sunday. Yesterday afternoon, his team won the Super Bowl. Wow. He plays for the Southern Tigers, and
unreal.
We beat Selinsgrove in the finals yesterday, and he had some really nice runs, couple hundred yards and rushing and a touchdown, and he played safety and had some heck of a good game yesterday, and all the kids did. A lot of good kids on that team again. So Southern has just reloading, so they got some good kids coming.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on Catching Up with Carl. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. I want you to say hello to all your sons for me, and of course, the love of your life, your wife.
Yep, she heard that. She's right behind me. I'm getting some bonuses for that one.
Good. Well, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate your taking your time out of your day for us.
Hey, Carl, I appreciate it, and I hope I didn't ramble too much because I like to talk. So
it'll be fun.
I thank you for the opportunity, and to be honest with you, I'm not saying this, but you guys do a great job when you cover, the games, and we're thankful that you do that, and I really respect that, what you say about the kids during the game, and I thank you guys, a lot there. You do a great job.
Thank you. Carl. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. Yes, sir.
For everybody here at SECV8 and Catching Up with Carl, thank you for being with us. Hi, Carl Bauer here. When we did the interview that you're about to see, the one featuring Kelli Smith Puzo, she is now, Selinsgrove Seals field hockey great, there were a couple of things that we really didn't talk enough about. We didn't give enough discussion. that are very noteworthy about Kelli Smith Puzo. First of all, after graduation from college, Kelli was selected for the national team for field hockey. She kept stoking her competitive fires in that team for the next 10 years, 2002 to 2012. In addition, Kelli is a two-time Olympian, being one of 16 players selected for the Beijing Olympics in 2008 and for the London Olympics in 2012. These tremendous accomplishments are very noteworthy and deserve this special mention. As for the interview itself, I know you'll enjoy it. The Kelli Smith Puzo interview is coming up next here on SECV8's Catching Up with Carl. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Catching Up with Carl. I'm Carl Bauer here on SECV8, and my special guest today is Kelli Smith, Kelli Puzo, she goes by now. You probably recognize the name if you were part of the area sports scene years ago. Kelli Smith was just an outstanding field hockey player for the Selinsgrove Seals. Kelli, I am so happy you're willing to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I have a couple questions for you. So that people have an idea of the era we're talking about. What's your graduation year from Selinsgrove?
I graduated from Selinsgrove in 1997. So my last playing year was 1997, that fall.
Okay. I'm sure Kathy Kaiser was your coach.
Yes, all 4 years, and in middle school.
Kathy Kaiser had an outstanding career at Selinsgrove. She really built the program, and it's still wreaking havoc in everybody in District 4. The Selinsgrove Seals just got beaten in the state tournament last night, so they are through for the year. But what a tremendous legacy for Kathy Kaiser. The years that the Kathy Kaiser coached were certainly years of greatness for Selinsgrove. Some of you will recognize her son, Ryan. He was a football player at Penn State. Besides Kathy Kaiser, what other coaches do you credit?
Well, I certainly credit Kathy as probably one of the most influential people in my career. I mean, she's the big reason that I got involved in the sport to begin with, along with my sister. I also credit a great deal of my post high school career to a woman named Heather Lewis, who at my time in high school was coaching at Bucknell. She was the head coach at Bucknell University. She was my futures coach. She was a graduate of the University of Maryland. So Heather was one of the key women that contacted Maryland about me. So Heather was huge in my upbringing, as well as obviously my college coach, Missy Maharg. She's a legend in the sport, still coaching, still winning national championships. So probably those three women, Kathy, Heather, and Missy Maharg, were probably the three most influential coaches I've had.
Well, you say that she was a legend. Let me tell you something. In this area, the name Kelli Smith is legendary. You just had tremendous results when you were in high school. I know you were Daily Item Player of the Year a number of times. What other kinds of honors did you have when you were playing for Selinsgrove?
Carl, you would ask me that question. I don't know the answer.
You were all-star.
Honestly, I think I was all state. I don't know, once, twice, I don't know. Honestly, at that point in my life, I just didn't focus too much on any of that. I loved going to practice. I loved competing. I loved every single team that I played with. I was just so focused on winning the daily challenges in practice or in games that I really can't tell you. Well, I couldn't tell you then, and I certainly can't tell you now.
You know what? You get that attitude from Kathy Kaiser, because whenever I interviewed her when she was still coaching, I would say, "What's your record?" She would say, "I don't know. No idea. You'll have to ask my assistant coach," because she simply didn't know. And I think that's a credit to both of you. You're concerned about your teammates. You're concerned about the team results and not necessarily individual results.
Yeah. You're right. She instilled that in all of her players till the day she stopped coaching.
Well, you left Selinsgrove and you went to college and played college field hockey. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I went to the University of Maryland, who at the time was just kind of coming up in the ranks. They were obviously successful and had won one national championship in that decade. But I came in with a really, really talented class. I came in with a woman named Carla Tagliente, who was already on the U.S. national team as a freshman in college. There was 12 of us in that incoming freshman class, all of whom were great hockey players. And we had a really talented senior class. We had a couple, my freshman year, I played with a couple current former national team players. And it was quite eye-opening, you know, like every step that I've taken in my career is challenging the first couple months, because the speed of the game, the speed of your basic skills, everything is just so accelerated. So you certainly feel like you're a fish out of water those first couple months, but like anything, you eventually catch up and you get up to speed.
Well, I know you settled in because I read newspaper articles about you. You had a very successful collegiate career.
Yeah, I was fortunate and lucky. It was for me, it was a very good pick.
What about, did you ever have an Olympic tryout?
Yeah, in fact, it's kind of an interesting story. I finished my first season at Maryland, and that winter I was selected to go to a U.S. tryout. And I thought when I arrived that I was trying out for my age group, which would have been the under 21 national team. And we arrived, it was at Rutgers University, and I got there and I registered and I went to my room. I knew my roommates. Two of them went to Maryland, another one was at University of Virginia. We were all good friends. And I sat down in the room and I said, all right, breakfast tomorrow, 9:30. And the girls looked at me and said, our breakfast is at 8:30. And I was like, why do I have a different schedule? And then I quickly realized they had put me with the senior national team, and all of my peers were in their age group with the under 21 or under 19 team. And I think I just, from a maturity standpoint, I wasn't ready for that. I mean, obviously I didn't back down. I did my best, but I just wasn't ready at that point to make that leap. So the following year, I went back to the same tryout, the same camp. And when I registered, I said, I want to make it very clear. I want to stay in my age group. And I did that all through college. I went to the same camp every winter, and every registration, I said, please, please don't put me with the senior team. And my senior year, I said, okay, this is probably the last shot. You know, like if I don't take that leap now, I'll never have the opportunity. So I did my senior year. I said, okay, I'll go with the senior team. Let's give it a shot. And then from there, I made the roster and never looked back.
Well, I know you've had a tremendously successful playing career, but like with all of us, eventually that comes to an end. What happened after the competition phase?
Well, after the 2008 Olympics, I played professionally in Barcelona, Spain for a year and a half. And when I came back from Spain, I got married, and we actually ended up having 2 boys in a very short amount of time. So between the boys, I tried to go back to the national team for a brief time, and then number 2 came along, and I really thought my playing career was possibly going to be over after that. But I gave it one more shot. My second son was born in the last day of August. Went back to the team in December and made that national team in 2000, or the Olympic team in 2012. Honestly, I loved every bit of that last piece of my career, but I was so ready for it to be over at the same time. That was a really grueling 6 or 7 months. And I knew that it was family time, you know? So when I walked off the pitch in London, I didn't have any doubts. I could have left every field hockey stick on that pitch and went home and been totally content and happy with my career.
Well, it's interesting. I've seen wrestlers come to the end of their career. When they're finished, they take off their shoes, they put them in the middle of the mat. So leaving your sticks there, that's a very good sign that you've decided it's time to go.
Yeah.
So what are you into now?
So my husband is the head field hockey coach at Miami University in Ohio, and I have an academy in Ohio. It started out in Columbus, Ohio, and over the years it's kind of grown. So now we have 3 sites, one in Columbus, one in Cleveland, and one in Cincinnati. I have 2 other full-time women helping me and working for the academy, and just really enjoying it. Gives me a lot of opportunity to be home Monday through Friday and be with the boys and give them the attention they need. And then I still get to be part of the sport and travel on the weekends and do what I love. I did have a short stint back in my playing days where I took some time off and I got into kind of corporate America. I liked it. It was different. It was just kind of outside my comfort zone a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, I just love being around people. I love competing, and field hockey gives me that. And to be able to have a career still in that field is, it's kind of cliche, but it goes back to the old saying where if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I do. I love it. So I feel pretty fortunate.
Well, that's really good to hear. And your boys are how old now?
They are 9 and 10.
Wow.
They're 18 months apart. So yeah, they're a handful right now.
And you're living in Ohio now, did you say?
We do. We live just north of Cincinnati.
And the connection with home, I'm sure, is still there.
Yeah. I try to get home as much as I can. My parents and I, we kind of have a pact that we try not to go 3 months without being together, whether I go back to Pennsylvania or they come here. And all my siblings are still in central Pennsylvania, and obviously we talk all the time. And sometimes I forget that Penn State is playing and I still call them on Saturday and my mom says, "What are you thinking? It's only the third quarter," so I still have to keep up with all of that. It's just in the blood. So yeah, I still come back a lot, and I feel my roots will never leave me.
Kelli Smith Puzo, I'm so happy you're willing to do this today on Catching Up with Carl. We'll let you know when it's going to be aired so that your parents can check it out. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I thank you again.
Oh, thank you, Carl. Take care.
This has been Kelli Smith Puzo, and I'm Carl Bauer on Catching Up with Carl. So long, everybody.